Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, May 6th. Boy, we have a cold air outbreak coming into the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. to start off the upcoming Mother's Day weekend. That will be quite noteworthy indeed. Saturday itself looks very windy, much colder than normal for this time, and there can even be some snow shower activity in parts of the northeast U.S., Mid-Atlantic region from Friday night into the day on Saturday. Today itself will be quite a chilly day in much of the same area, the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. This time of the year, April, May, in the northeastern part of the nation, really two requirements to get you very chilly weather. One is an easterly flow of air. The oceans are still quite cold for this time of the year, and any kind of an ocean flow will bring in some quite chilly air during the month of April and May into Philadelphia, New York City, Boston, for example. And another requirement for a chilly day is thick cloud cover. And we certainly will have that as low pressure slowly pushes to the north and east and intensifies offshore. So the combination of thick cloud cover and easterly flow of air will keep high temperatures quite low for the 6th of May. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some areas end up having some of the lowest maximum temperatures for the date in a long, long time. We're expecting maybe low to mid 50s in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor, with some shower activity as that low pressure intensifies offshore. Well, we've been talking for weeks now about cold air outbreaks continuing into the middle part of May. These cold air outbreaks originate up in northern Canada and then have been able to drop south and east into the central and eastern U.S. We have colder than normal conditions today, and again, this may turn out to be one of the chilliest May 6th in many years in the Mid-Atlantic region. And then we have probably the coldest air of all coming Friday night and Saturday, following a very strong frontal passage late in the day on Friday. That chill will ease somewhat on Sunday afternoon, so it looks like Sunday afternoon for Mother's Day will be quite a bit more bearable than Saturday. Again, lots of clouds around, quite unstable, as there'll be a deep upper level low sitting on top of the northeastern U.S. Very windy and chilly for this time of the year on Saturday, much less windy on Sunday afternoon. There is some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the temperature and the cold air outbreaks. Again, we expect colder than normal conditions on average through much of next week, right into about the middle part of May, and then there certainly now are signs that the pattern will transition to a warmer pattern, maybe a significantly different type of pattern for the last couple of weeks of May compared to the next week or so. Let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature anomaly pattern going forward, averaged out in 5-day periods. This is the current 5-day period, and we'll see how this transition evolves, at least in the ensemble run of the GFS, and I believe other models are trending this way as well. Again, I think a warm-up is coming, but maybe by the 3rd week of May in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Quite a bit colder than normal for the next 5-day period. Let's keep moving forward. Here's days 2 to 6, 3 to 7, and 4 to 8. Look at this, throughout much of the eastern 2/3 of the nation. And again, probably the coldest air will arrive Friday night, continue Saturday and Sunday. Very likely we'll have temperatures in the 30s to start off each day this weekend in places like Philadelphia, for example, certainly in the suburbs. Maybe Saturday morning and again Sunday morning, very chilly for this time of the year. We haven't had the 30s. We haven't had temperatures below 40 degrees on May 9th, which is Saturday, or later in Philadelphia, for example, since the middle 1960s. So this is unusual cold. Whether or not it breaks records or not, still unclear. It's probably quite difficult in Philadelphia, for example, because I checked earlier, both Saturday morning and Sunday morning, the record low is 33 degrees. That might be quite difficult, but nonetheless, the 30s are quite likely for both weekend days. Let's keep moving forward and watch what happens here. This cold pattern here, this colder than normal pattern, kind of retreats to the north and east as we get through the middle part of the month of May. And here we are now Days 8 to 12 centered on May 13th to May 18th. And look at this, back to normal for that 5-day period in the Mid-Atlantic region. Go out a little farther and it actually gets above normal. So it may feel quite different come the third week of May as compared to this upcoming week where we will be far below normal in much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. But again, there is finally light at the end of the tunnel for the latter part of the month of May, and tropical season will not be far behind. Many times when there's a chilly April and a chilly May in the northeastern part of the country, tropical season gets off to an early start. So we'll look for that as soon as we warm up around here during the latter part of the month of May and into the early part of June. Well, let's walk through the 6Z GFS operational run. We'll first look at 500 millibar height anomalies. Quite an amazing scene coming to the northeastern U.S. for Saturday. We'll look at that in a moment. Then we'll look at 850 millibar temperature anomalies, and finally the surface forecast maps. Here we start off the day today. Quite an impressive upper level low in its own right, sitting on top of the Mid-Atlantic region, the Ohio Valley. And again, today will be quite chilly for the 6th of May, with high temperatures confined to the low to middle 50s in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, again because of the combination of thick clouds and an easterly flow of the still chilly Atlantic Ocean. Now let's move forward here and watch what happens. It kind of dives to the south and east, and here we have the beginnings of another vigorous upper level feature here by tomorrow morning. It's 24 hours from now, and that just intensifies, it deepens quite dramatically. Here we go by Saturday morning. Look at this, an extremely anomalous upper level low sitting in the middle part of the atmosphere of 500 millibars. That'll do a few things to the weather on Saturday in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the northeast U.S. First of all, it'll make it quite unstable. Very chilly air in the upper part of the atmosphere. That could lead to scattered rain or snow showers. Very windy conditions as surface low pressure intensifies dramatically off the New England coastline by Saturday morning. Very strong northwest winds, and finally very cold air mass for this time of the year. We'll be some 20 degrees below normal on Saturday. Highs will struggle to reach 50 degrees in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Normal high right now in Philly is about 70, 71 degrees. Again, maybe 20 degrees or so below normal on Saturday. The good news is it tends to ease up quite a bit by Sunday. Still below normal, certainly on the cool side of normal by maybe 10 to 15 degrees below normal on Sunday, but it'll feel much, much more bearable on Sunday afternoon with likely plenty of sunshine and far less wind than what we'll experience on Saturday. Well, now let's walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. Again, colder than normal for today, impressively colder than normal. High temperatures maybe 15 to 20 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Let's move forward here. If anything, all that will intensify in terms of relative to normal by the time we get to Saturday. Here we are Friday. Look at this cold air outbreak crossing the Great Lakes as of Friday morning. Strong cold front moves into the Mid-Atlantic region. Low pressure forms along that frontal boundary zone, produces rainfall, looks like Friday afternoon into Friday night in the Mid-Atlantic region, and could even see some snowflakes mixing in later on Friday night in the Mid-Atlantic region and certainly in the northeast U.S. Here we go now by Saturday morning, sitting right on top of the region, and we also have that vigorous upper level low sitting right on top of the northeast U.S. A very, very cold day for this time of the year. Again, some 20 plus degrees below normal, and wind chills will be even far below the air temperature because winds may be gusting up to 40 miles per hour or so, perhaps even higher than that. We'll have to watch for that and the potential for power outages on Saturday as that low pressure area really intensifies off of New England early Saturday. But a very cold day relative to normal as we begin the Mother's Day weekend. Let's move forward into Mother's Day itself. Still below normal. Again, not nearly as harsh Sunday afternoon with far less wind, probably plenty of sunshine, and yet it'll still be below normal for this time of the year. And look at this, as we end the weekend still below normal throughout much of the eastern two-thirds of the nation. But let's now quickly go through next week, and we'll see the beginnings of a pattern change as we get through a reinforcing cold shot early to middle part of next week. Here we are now, the middle of next week, a week from today, next Wednesday, still below normal, getting towards the middle part of the month of May. But look beyond this. Finally see some light at the end of the tunnel here, maybe even above normal by about the 15th of May or so. It's not quite the end of the cold air masses, but certainly the pattern seems to being prepared for a change during the third week of the month of May, going into the last week of the month of May, but certainly right to the middle of the month, below normal conditions for much of the time in the eastern two-thirds of the nation. Well, now let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps. We have low pressure already offshore, but it actually intensifies over the next several hours, and this area of rainfall, primarily rainfall, some snowflakes upstate Pennsylvania, actually kind of expands over the next few hours as this area of low pressure intensifies. Watch what happens here. Here we are by later today, 999 millibar low. It starts off the day at 1,005, so it intensifies quite a bit over the next 6 to 12 hours or so, and that area of precipitation expands, again, promoting an easterly flow of air in New York City and Philadelphia all the way into D.C. It's a combination of that easterly flow and thick cloud cover and occasional showers will keep it quite cold today. Thursday itself turns out to be a breezy and cool day, probably dry. This is the Thursday afternoon forecast map. But here we go, high pressure showing up over southern Canada by tomorrow afternoon, and that's a cold high. Let's now move into Friday. Low pressure forms along an advancing cold front. This cold front is pushing to the south and east, yet another cold air outbreak from Canada dropping south and east into the central and eastern U.S. By the time late Friday rolls around, look at it, it's cold enough for snow in the higher elevations across West Virginia, maybe even not far west of D.C. There may be some snowflakes mixed in Friday evening, all the way up to Philadelphia, New York City. There can be rain or snow showers Friday night as that colder air starts to move into the area. And here we go by Saturday morning. Intense storm off the New England coastline, and maybe even deeper than this. I think the GFS model may be underplaying this. But look at this tight pressure gradient that forms here on Saturday morning. Screaming northwest winds, far below normal temperatures, maybe even some instability, rain or snow showers, even into the I-95 corridor region. It becomes a 985 low. Very, very strong winds on Saturday. Again, some 20 degrees below normal. Have to watch out for the possibility of some scattered power outages as well on Saturday. Now, the good news, by Sunday, although we're still well below normal for this time of the year, winds will be far less noticeable on Sunday afternoon, and with plenty of sunshine, it'll feel quite a bit better than it will on Saturday. Maybe highs closer to 60 degrees on Sunday afternoon in the I-95 corridor, as opposed to the upper 40s, maybe 50 degrees on Saturday. So again, high pressure takes control for Mother's Day itself after a very windy, very cold day on Saturday, and that follows a very chilly day today, the 6th of May, here in the Mid-Atlantic region with that thick cloud cover, an easterly flow, and occasional showers. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.